The story starts with a high school student named Itsuki Yuga running towards his school's rooftop. On reaching the rooftop, he meets a beautiful girl called Mahiru Kanatsuki. It is revealed that they are both childhood friends. Mahiru informs Itsuki that she is pregnant, which shocks Itsuki. While they are still talking, an unknown energy teleports them to a mysterious location where they are attacked by a monster. Itsuki decides to fight back after he receives a sword due to a mark on his body. Later in the forest, a weird animal by the name of Mana appears in front of them and reveals that Mahiru is still a virgin. Soon after, a man known as Narcissus belonging to the Grandvania kingdom is met by the two. He takes them to see King Shangri-La. It is revealed that Itsuki was brought to this planet to deal with the impurities and save it. He is informed that he must perform a rite known as the love ritual to deal with the threat. As he awakens from the dream, he finds himself bounded to a bed when a red-haired girl called Ryomi comes. Claiming to be the royal doctor, she explains to Itsuki and Mahiru why they are here, and asks them to embrace each other in order to create the special children that the kingdom needs. As they both perform their first love ritual, a star child is born which would purify the impurities. Later on, while they are standing outside the castle, a young girl hits herself with Itsuki and quickly gets up and leaves. They are later sent to the Hashigami Academy where the maidens of the 12 constellations are brought so they can all perform the love ritual with Itsuki. This is where Itsuki meets the girl with which he collided before. She reveals herself to be Ruka, maiden of one of the constellations. Itsuki soon begins to develop feelings for her. While they are both talking, Mahiru arrives. She reminds Itsuki of the promises that he made to her while they were younger, but he is unable to remember any of them. Later that night, Ruka and Itsuki finally embrace each other and make love together, giving birth to the second star child. Following that night, Itsuki is forced to perform a double love ritual including two ladies. This is nervousing for Itsuki as Narcissus informs him that this is the first time a double love ritual is taking place. Later on, Itsuki goes to a club where he would meet another maiden named Farron. After talking to her, he gets to know that she is a professional dancer. Later that night, it is finally time for the double love ritual, or you can say a threesome. Itsuki discovers two beautiful fertile women, which are Rion and Farron, laying in his bed, waiting for him to breed them. Itsuki is seen to be nervous as he has never made love to older women before. After successfully breeding both of them, they are seen sleeping in bed together. The next day, Itsuki meets with the Pisces maiden. Her name is Yuzuha and she reveals herself to be a painter. It is also discovered that she likes to sleep in a coffin for some reason and she draws what she dreams of while she is sleeping in it. To make them bond better, Itsuki asks her out on a date. She agrees to it. Later, while Itsuki is waiting for her at the park, Mana arrives and he tells Itsuki that he should be on his best behavior for the date. Itsuki asks him to follow them and pushes him away. Yuzuha arrives with a casket which amazes Itsuki. She quickly gets embarrassed by everyone around staring at her. This incident depresses Yuzuha and she cries herself to sleep as she reaches her home. Looking at this, Mana decides to build a wooden coffin for her so Itsuki can gift it to Yuzuha as a token of apology and encourage her to keep doing what she loves. This melts Yuzuha's heart and she opens herself to Itsuki, allowing him to embrace her body that night. A beach trip is organized so that Itsuki and all the maidens can spend more time together. The Academy's biggest playboy named Saya gets to know about it and he decides to join them in order to seduce the maidens and win over Itsuki. On the beach, Lilith, the maiden of Gemini, spends her time talking to Itsuki about different things. She decides to foresee Itsuki's future and reveals that he will die soon. Later that night, Itsuki and Lilith mate together. Her competitive personality makes her compete with Itsuki to outperform him in bed. The next day, Itsuki meets Ari at the chapel and they both bond together. The Academy's greatest playboy Saya does his best to get closer to Ari, but he fails. Before Itsuki performs the love ritual with her, she reveals that she is into BDSM. Ari brings out a whip and starts swinging it at Itsuki, making him scream in pain. Later on, Mana recommends Itsuki to breed Khalid next, but Itsuki refuses to as she is too young still. Upon approaching her, Khalid believes that he is trying to make her fall in love with him to create a star baby with her, but Itsuki assures her that he is there just to help her. Khalid explains to him how she is having problems with her business as another bakery is giving her a tough time. Itsuki decides to help her and meets with Femiruna to resolve her problem. When Itsuki asks her to help another maiden, she trips and smacks her head on the table, knocking herself out. Itsuki decides to bring her to the bakery and hides her in a room on Mana's advice. In the course of coming days, Itsuki takes care of her until she recovers. Seeing him take care of her, Femiruna starts to develop feelings for him. This helps them get close enough to each other to make love together. Innocent Femiruna sits on top of Itsuki and they begin to mate together. After successfully penetrating Femiruna, Mana again suggests Itsuki to take on Khalid, but Itsuki is still unsure and hesitant as Khalid is too pure and innocent for him. Khalid asks Itsuki what's the tastiest part of her body to him. Itsuki expresses his liking of her ears. This leads to Khalid baking a piece of loaf in the shape of her ears for him. Despite feeling unsure, Itsuki decides to start helping Khalid in her bakery to develop a stronger relationship with her. The two of them have a great time together while preparing for the school festival. They both dress up in bread and decide to spend time together after the school festival. Itsuki meets with Tora, another girl whom he will develop a relationship with. After finishing their work, Khalid informs Itsuki that she prefers pats over kisses. Itsuki gladly pats her as the two set off to perform the love ritual. As he pats her head, he takes his hand further down her young small body and gently lays her down to breed her. Mana is planning the ultimate love ritual to bring in all the maidens who haven't performed the love ritual with Itsuki yet. It is revealed that this ritual would be the most pleasurable ritual, but in order to perform it, Itsuki's partner must be someone who Itsuki truly loves. Itsuki decides to spend more time with Sue, who is a huge animal lover. She opens up to him about her past as both of them get closer. The maidens are preparing for the final ritual with Itsuki by climbing the stairs and slimy stuff. Mirai makes it to the top and meets Itsuki. Her beautiful breasts get in touch with Itsuki's body in the pool and her soft wet hands make their way to Itsuki's crotch. The next day, as Sue and Itsuki are about to perform the love ritual, they are joined by Mirai, who hypnotizes them with a seductive perfume. Itsuki discovers that, in addition to the Stardust Labyrinths inhabited by the Impurity Lords, there is also the 13th Labyrinth and the presence of the 13th Maiden. He embarks on a journey to search for the 13th woman, but is worried if the 13th maiden is not a woman but a man. At first, he does not believe that it would be a man, but after encountering Seiya different times, he begins to wonder if Mana is telling the truth. Mana then confesses that he was an impurity and the present monarch of Grandvania was a visitor like Itsuki who frightened the evil away. After thinking about it in detail, Itsuki decides to perform a ritual with Seiya and Narcissus to find out who is the 13th maiden. Itsuki is later shocked to know that all of this was a test by Mana to help him become more open-minded. The 13th maiden is revealed to be Alfie, who trains the Star Children. The reason why she wouldn't confront Itsuki about her being a maiden is that she is too shy. Itsuki and the Star Children prepare to fight the 12th impurity and achieve victory. After this, Itsuki and Mana continue their objective to get to the 13th maiden, but they fail to get to her. Alfie tries to reveal herself as a maiden to Itsuki many times indirectly, but fails miserably. With no other way left, she reveals herself to Mana and hands him a DVD. Mana and Itsuki later watches the DVD together and finds out that it's an 80s movie. Later on, Itsuki takes Alfie out on a date and gifts her a dress. After spending quality time together, they both return back to Alfie's room. She wears the dress that Itsuki brought for her and they both set off to perform the love ritual. It is the time of Christmas in Grandvania now. The whole kingdom is decorated for Christmas and it puts Itsuki on a nostalgia trip. As Itsuki buys gifts for his loved ones, Narcissus arrives and informs him that the king wishes to speak to him. Upon reaching the king, Itsuki is informed that in order to defeat the 13th impurity he must sacrifice himself. This shocks Itsuki as he stands there, not knowing how to respond to this revelation. He sets off to visit all the maidens and give them their gifts. After that he visits the Star Children, where he also spends some time with Alfie. She tells Itsuki that she herself is a star child and her father was a visitor just like Itsuki. At last, Itsuki gives Mana a present and decides to make love to her as it is revealed that Mana is also a female. Itsuki heads towards the last fight. However, because they are in a dire predicament, none of their attacks work against the final impurity phantom. The king asks the maidens to perform a rite to assist Itsuki in defeating the impurity and get sealed off. The maidens decline the king's request and try to find another way to help Itsuki. They arrive at the battle scene and perform a miracle, giving strength to the children which would help them to finally beat the impurity. As Itsuki is about to get hit, Alfie pushes herself in and protects Itsuki by sacrificing herself. Itsuki catches her, but she soon evaporates into dust in his arms. The phantom reverts to its original form and reveals that Itsuki is the reason of his creation. Itsuki denies his claims and tells him that he did not spread any impurity in any girl and he was just doing his job to help them. After an intense battle, they manage to defeat the final impurity. Mahiru and Itsuki return back to their world, but they are surprised to see that all the maidens including Mana had came back to the world with them. Mana has now taken a human form due to Itsuki's love. The series ends with all of them making their way back to Mahiru's house together. If you enjoyed the video, please like, share, and subscribe to support our channel.